Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown for the week ending August 20th, 2021. Hopefully this finds you all doing something fun with plans for the weekend and having good weeks. So this episode I am, instead of in the studio, so to speak, back in Ithaca, I'm on family vacation here on the St. Lawrence River on Grindstone Island. Pretty good week so far. We'll be here next week as well and just enjoying our time on the river. So, hopefully the boat traffic at this hour will be fairly minimal. Our river's really quieted down, flattened out. For those of you not familiar with the Thousand Islands and the St. Lawrence River, it's an absolutely beautiful location. Grindstone, which is the island that we've been on or rented on the past number of years, it's a fairly large island, and I can probably get up to maybe a 20-mile run on the island. With trails in that mix and just gravel roads in between. So it's definitely a great resource. I just purchased some land on an island a bit upriver from here, basically just at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River on Carlton Island. So hopefully can start chipping away at building something next year. But at the moment, it's nice to be on Grindstone for everything that it offers. So if any of you haven't visited the Thousand Islands, definitely highly recommend it. An absolutely beautiful location. And maybe reach out to me if you're in the area. And if I'm planning here or here, maybe I can pick you up and take you out on the river for a bit. All right, so let's get into what shook out on the Northeast trail running world in this past week. We will give you a couple of results from the weekend, weave in some voices from those results. One pretty awesome FKT that went down, as well as take you out with a couple of events coming up. All right, so let's get into it. So let's start up with the UltraSignUp Hotlist. Don't mind those wave runners. UltraSignUp Hotlist in Maine. One that is an absolutely beautiful course. I've not run it, but was hoping to last year and then got COVIDed. Mentioned in the last episode is the Bold Coast Bash. Was canceled last year, secondary to COVID. The 10 and 20 milers capped out pretty quickly, as I think a lot of us rolled over. And as of filming, there was only one spot remaining for the 30-miler. So if you want to get in on that, the event is mid-November, and it's the far northeastern stretches of Maine. I rolled over into the 30-mile. I haven't been running much since my hurting my ankle, but maybe I'll still get back in that mix and make that haul up there. In Pennsylvania, the Green Monster Trail Challenge, 15K, 25K, and 50K distances, they are 99% full with only one spot remaining as well. The event is slated for October 10th in Wellsboro, PA, and I've heard nothing but great things about Green Monster in terms of the course and production and community that puts it on. So check that out. And in Vermont, the Groton Forest Trail Runs, 15-miler, slated for September 11th in Groton, Vermont. Only 6 spots remain for the 15, 16 for the 10K, and 25 for the marathon. So that 15K is getting close there on the warning track. All right, FKTs. There was one really amazing one from this past week. A friend, Ryan Atkins, who I met through a friend up in the Adirondacks, and who ran, he and his wife both ran my Whiteface Sky Races a couple years. Really phenomenal athlete. I think was a OCR world champion one of the years. Just an incredible all-around athlete. In any case, he just ran a 4 hours, 42 minutes for the Adirondack Great Range Traverse. This is a 21.7-mile route with 9,800 feet of gain and just covers some of the iconic high peaks of the Great Range. It is really spectacular. I think the day that I did it with some friends, went through it a decent effort, but I think it was probably twice as long as Ryan and some of these people that are hammering through went through. So really incredible athleticism to cover that range in what they're able to cover it. This route has seen some of the most technical, best trail runners for sure in the Northeast, if not the country and world, in the case of Ryan. And they've been chipping at it since Jan Welford, good friends, set an initial mark of 6 hours, 40 minutes in 2009. Ryan lowered that time on 3 prior occasions, and the last in 2019, which was 5 hours and 8 minutes. Jack Kunzel, who we had on a couple times on the Trails Collective weekly rundowns, he lowered that mark by a pretty huge 23 minutes in this past June, an effort that was on that week's rundown. But Ryan answered back, shaving off another 3 minutes off of Jack's time. And touche, Mr. Kunzel. That is incredible, Ryan. Nice work, man. All right, results. In Maryland, on the Bacon Trail, the Naylor Mill 7K, Trail 7K in Salisbury, Maryland. One that has been on my radar just because it's fun, just in concept. It is being the Bacon Scrapple or Veggie teams. And though it's most likely that Bacon's going to get the win every year, the crew advertises it as the toughest on Delmarva. It's hot, humid, with trails that never seem to end, and with a ton of bacon for the eating and winning. I had reached out to women's winner and course record holder a couple times over, Maria Miller. And Maria, thanks so much for following up with this clip, cueing us into the Bacon Trail Naylor Mill Trail 7K.
Hey guys, hi Ian, thanks for having me. I feel honored that you asked me. The Bacon Run was this past Friday the 13th, right? It was super hot. We started the race with a 105-degree index, and this trail is a very small enclosed trail, so it felt like a sauna. It was a great race. It's always a great race. It's our 5th year on this trail, and it's called the Naylor Mill 7K Bacon versus Scrapple. It's a team race. So I created the team veggie the first year because I don't eat bacon and I don't eat scrapple. So it became almost like a joke because every year there's just a handful of people representing the veggie team, but it's still alive, which gives me a lot of hope. I know Trent's probably laughing listening to this, but that's okay. Go Team Veggie. I believe Team Bacon won again this year, but that's fine. That's totally fine. As I said, it's a super fun race. This trail is it's challenging for our area. Probably has the most elevation you can find here in the eastern shore of Maryland. So I am from Costa Rica originally, but I have been living in Maryland for about 11 years now, and I love it here. It's quite a drive to find some elevation to train for races like West Virginia or up north, but it's fun. It's always worth the drive. You always have find friends there, and many times we have make groups and carpool to Maryland Heights, for example, or Patapsco area, and wherever we can find elevation and whenever we can find time also. So thank you, Trent, for putting this race together again this year, and for everybody that came and ran. So much fun. It just we have a great running community in the Eastern Shore. And thanks to Trent and all the people involved in Algonquin Ultras. Check them out. They have put so many events in this area that is just like amazing. We are so happy to have such a high energy people in this area that loves the trails and wants to put all the work into these events. Despite pandemics, despite anything, they are there, volunteers and of course runners showing up and supporting these local races. It was nice. I came in third overall this year and first female, so I'm really happy with the results. I'm not gonna lie, the last mile and a half, I struggle a lot. But it's about also having fun. I did push my limits as best as I could, and it just turned out to be a great day, and super happy with the outcome. And I'm just happy to be running trails, which I've been doing for a few years only, but I enjoy trails so much. And I am working hard for my first 100 miler. It's gonna be this upcoming month, September 11th to be exact. I'll be running Virgil Crest 100, and I am super, super excited. So the the training's going great. I'll be running with a bunch of friends from New Jersey, and I just can't wait to hang out with them and see what that race brings. So thanks again for having me, and just keep running, guys. Keep running the trails, keep running all the trails, have fun, and stay healthy. Thank you.
All right, great job, Maria. In New York, a smaller event, new, I think, inaugural running went down for the Mud Creek Bison Ranch Bison Run 5K in Savona, New York. It is a 5K, I think, loop that uses the maybe gravel roads or paths around the Bison Ranch, so you get pretty up and close to bison. For those of you who haven't spent any time or gotten close to bison, an absolutely magnificent animal. One of the things that I'm maybe thinking to start with the Trails Collective is seeing whether people can weigh in with some of their coolest trail running experiences, and just one piece of that will be some of the animal encounters. And probably one of my coolest moments had to do with a bison out in Wyoming, and probably in an upcoming episode, or once I get that kicked off, I'll cue you into that, because it was a pretty cool experience. In any case, for the Mud Creek Bison Ranch Bison Run 5K, of 55 finishers, Gianna Tribeau, age 16 of Spencerport, earned the win with a new overall and women's course record. And then here to weigh in on not just the Bison Run, but the vantage point of a newer runner and the importance of running in the mix, Seth Kehr.
My name's Seth Kehr. I'm from Corning, New York. I took third place in the Mud Creek Bison Run 5K. It was not a very competitive event, but it meant a lot to me. There weren't that many people there. That might have something to do why I placed. The race started off, and I could see immediately that there weren't very many people towards the front. I thought, well, if I give it my all, I might be able to get third, which I did. I trailed behind the person in third place up until about a half mile from the end, and then I put it in high gear. I overtook them, and I won a bronze medal in a 5K. I was pretty proud of myself. I haven't been running for very long, about 2 years. I've attempted several ultras. I finished a few. There was a couple I did not. So this really meant a lot to me. About 2 years ago, I had signed up for the Wineglass Half Marathon, more as just a fun event to do. I had done it several years before, and I had walked most of it, but I wanted to take it seriously. And the morning that it happened, I slept in and I missed it. And I thought to myself, man, I really, really want to be a runner, and missing that had hurt my feelings. So the next month I signed up for the Red Baron Half Marathon here in Corning, and I finished that, and I don't know what to say. I got the bug. That next February, just a few months after I started running, I ran the 50-mile Beast of Burden, and I finished that. And you know what? It was hard. It's still hard. Sometimes it's very hard to get out and start running, especially when I'm busy with life. Unfortunately, when I'm tired and burnt out, running seems to be one of the first things that I neglect to do. The morning of the race that I got in third place, I was not planning on attending that race. I had known about it. There just seemed to be so much stuff to do in my life, and I was feeling burnt out, and I woke up and I said, you know what, not today. Not today will I neglect, my well-being, my health. My wife and I both really needed a break. She loves crewing for me and doing events like this, so I woke up and I said, let's go. And I'm so glad I did. the run itself, was cleansing for me in some way. It was an added bonus that I took third place, which was really cool. I'm so happy I found running when I did in my mid-30s. It balances me in a way that I don't know how to describe, but keeps me healthy mentally and emotionally, and it's helping me be healthy physically. I don't want to make some big promise that I'm having a renewal to commit to running every day or anything crazy like that, but I'm very grateful that I got that reminder, and I got it in such a nice way of how rewarding running can be. And big shout out to my friends Jason and Megan from Rebellion Running. They've supported me through a lot of things, a lot of running events. They've showed up. Jason's coached me from time to time when I've been running. Thank you, Jason. They hosted the event. Once again, the name of the event was Mud Creek Bison Run. I'm not sure. Well, they set up the race part. There were. It was a fun day. Rebellion Racing did a really good job. Much fun. So glad I went. And thank you for doing the Trails Collective, Ian. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
So well done, Seth, with running in general, staying in the mix, and it's cool to see individuals motivated by just running, let alone the event. So nice work. All right, moving on to, let's see, Pennsylvania, just going alphabetical here. Actually, let's come back to this one. Let's end with Pennsylvania. Let's go to Virginia. The Jarman's Invitational Marathon 30-miler in Crozet, Virginia went down. The slogan, which I mentioned last week, is "Everything about this race sucks," which is one of the first things I think cued me into Jarman's when I was just researching events. The biggest glutton, or the winner of Embrace the Suck, went to McLean Grow in 4 hours 40 minutes, with Richard Kwiatkowski and Matt Thompson rounding the podium, with Christy Taylor, Alyssa Keith, and Martha Wright for the women. So great job to all those out there. The Super 7-hour summer self-supported endurance race went down. Of 35 finishers over the 4.43-mile single-track course in Williamsburg, there was a tie for first, with 31.8 miles, including Dan Brosnick, Ruthie Cruzier, and Drew Sneed. Hopefully somewhere out there is a photo of them holding hands crossing the finish line. All right, in Vermont, 6 hours on Lover's Lane in Chester, Vermont went down. Makes use of a mixed trail 2-mile loop and an all-comers vibe. Of 48 finishers at this inaugural event, Keith Barusa took the overall win with 38 hours, and April Farnham for the women with 32 miles. So, I said 38 hours. 38 miles in the 6 hours. April Farnham for the women with 32 miles. So, great job. And turning back to Pennsylvania, an absolutely beautiful event, technical, tough, and top-notch in terms of production and the community who puts it on, supports it. Eastern States 100. So Eastern States was narrowed a bit in field size this year. Some of the COVID restrictions, I think, still played in, particularly with those coming out of Canada. But still got off. They, just based, I think, on the difficulty of the course, still had a 50% finish rate, which narrowed the final finisher tally to 83. Of those, first in was Rhode Island's Ben Quattromoni. Ben was an individual we had on a prior episode following an FKT that he laid down in Rhode Island. And I think that it's awesome that the winner of Eastern States came out of Rhode Island, just because I don't know how much trail resources really there are, I think, in Rhode Island, and that's just not the trail state that I think of. So I think it's awesome. Ben, absolutely phenomenal job out there. Nice work. And second place overall and notching a new women's course record was the wicked tough, my friend Nicole Yokum. Rounding out the men's podium was Aaron Ellison and Stephen Larrick. And on the women's side, Samantha Hurlbert and Faith Hall. And I checked in with a number of individuals this week. I'm going to lead in with the RD, who took over the helm. I think this was the first year running, I believe, took over from Dave Walker, and has an army with her. But at the helm, the amazing Jade Oakes-Hatt. Cue us into Eastern States.
Hey Ian, thanks for having me on. This is Jade from the Eastern States 100, and Ian asked me to come on and kind of give you a recap of how things went last weekend. First of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about me because I'm sure you have no idea who I am, and that's okay. I do not have an impressive ultra running resume like so many other RDs out there. If you go on UltraSignUp looking for some long list of ultras I've run, you are going to be very disappointed. I have run ultras, but you can usually find me supporting at races. So I love to run an aid station and help out with logistics and those kind of things. So when Dave Walker came to me a couple years ago and asked me to co-RD with this race with him, I really didn't hesitate to do that. I'm from this area. I grew up in this area. I raised my family here. I live 20 minutes from the start finish line of the Eastern States 100. So it only made sense for me to jump on board. I know these trails. I love these trails. Spend a lot of time on there with my kids. So it was a natural progression for me. So couple years later, here I am. I wasn't expecting to be race director and put in that place last year during a pandemic, and ultimately the cancellation of the race, which kind of stunk, but it was what it was. And here we are this year, and very happy to report that we had a very successful first year finishing our race. So first off, I want to congratulate Ben Quattromoni and Nicole Yokum. Ben came in as our first overall finisher, 22:31, and Nicole Yokum was second overall, first female, and she set a new female course record by 14 minutes, coming in at 24:34. So congratulations to the both of them. They put in a heck of a performance, and it was a heck of a day to do it. Any of you who have run here in Central PA know that we can have all the seasons all at once, and the humidity here in August can be pretty brutal, and this year did not disappoint. We started the day pretty humid, pretty gross, pretty wet, a lot of wet rocks, a lot of falls, a lot of mud, a lot of blood. Pretty typical for us this time of year. The weather did clear up partway through the day though, so that was kind of nice. We got a little bit of sunny summer weather out there, but then as night fell, it definitely got chilly, so we got some fall-like weather. The only thing it didn't do here was snow, and that's not completely out of the question this time of year, but it didn't. So we were pretty happy with how the weather turned out this year. So what are some things that we love about this race? Well, first of all, we love the course. The course is 100% brutal. Again, if you've run here with us in Central PA, you know that we basically take a creek bed, throw some flags on it, and call it a trail. That's just how we do things around here. And when it's humid and wet and slippery, and we've had some seriously severe thunderstorms and blowdowns lately, it makes for an interesting day on the trails. And it certainly was. If I heard it once, I heard it 100 times how brutal this course was, but how much everybody loved it. And even those who didn't make it through the entire time this time around really want to come back and give it another shot, and I hope that they all do. Another thing that I love about this race is our volunteers. I know everybody has great volunteers, but I think ours are the best. They put in so many hours from aid stations, you know, not only prepping the aid station, but spending 16 plus hours in some cases working at these aid stations and helping these runners through. Our teams of ham radio operators, our logistics teams. We have to have ham radio operators out here because we have no service. There's no cell service. I can't call you on your cell phone, ask you where you are, ask you if you're okay. I rely on these guys to check you in and out of aid stations so we can keep track of everybody. Our partners at DCNR, they've been fantastic with us. They work with us every year, helping us clear trails and get everything ready ahead of time. Our local EMS groups, our local fire companies that do our road crossings, that kind of thing. I mean, we have so many volunteers to thank. Our sweepers, our proofers, and then again, the families, the crews, the people that stand at the finish line, and it gets louder as the day goes on because we know how hard that those last finishers have worked. They've all worked hard, but those last finishers, you can see it in their faces when they come across the finish line, and it's awesome. So we just want to thank you for having us on. Thank you for coming out this first year with our new structure. We think it went really well, and we're only looking to build from here. So we hope if you didn't get to come out and see us this year, that you'll come out and see us next year. Whether you run it, whether you pay somebody, whether you crew, whether you volunteer with us, we welcome it all. So thanks again, Ian, for having us on. We look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Have a great day.
All right, and then great job, Jade. I've heard nothing but good things coming out of Eastern States. So congrats to you and your crew. It'd be great to catch up with you further, maybe with a full-length interview sometime later this year. All right, let's go next to a friend who's run several of my events historically. Really wonderful individual as I've known him. I've seen him come in just under the wire and hammering in terms of just beating the cutoffs. I've seen him have really great runs and be mid-pack, but just a wonderful spirit out there. Josue, Ayala, cue us into your day.
Hello, my name is Josue Ayala. I am from Mexico. I live in Brooklyn, New York for the past 16 years. I started to run ultras in 2018. I have 650 miles, a few 50Ks, some 100Ks. No more than 20 in total, including 2 100 miles. In 2019, I didn't finish Eastern State 100. I didn't make the cutoff for a few minutes. It took a toll on my mind. It was like unfinished business. I said, I have to come back and finish this race. 2020 was a tough year. But I remember it was very important, and it was a cue to finish Eastern States. In 2020, I went to Cayuga Trails, 50 miler, and finished at the very, very last moment. Thank you, Ian, for letting me continue with the race in that day, and for trust me, because I knew I have to navigate during the dark. That was not a problem, but I understand all the race directors right now, for safety of everybody. I finished. I knew I can do it. It was like magic happening in that moment. Well, we took the challenge this year in 2021 at Eastern State 100 with a different approaching, more training, more better nutrition plan, a strategic during the race, before, during, and after. It was a huge help from Alejandra Santana. She's from Ecuador. She was helping me with all these details about the training, how to manage my mileage, my nutrition, when to rest, how long, for all those kind of details. And well, race day was a beautiful, not too humid day. I decided to use a pacer this year. My nephew, Adriana Madis, he started to pace me at mile 43. The plan was to do only 20 miles or so. But after that, he saw the struggle on my face. It was really tough course. The trails, the stones, the trees, everything mix it up to make a very, very technical trail to run. So he decided to come with me. I want to try to squeeze everything really fast. He's a road runner, Adriana Madis, my pacer. He never used trekking poles before. He never used hydration vest before. He never ran trails before. He was enjoying the moment very well. That he managed to continue 60 miles with me all the way to the end. and he never doubt that we can finish. The one who has doubts, it was me. I was thinking, oh, I'm not gonna make it. I knew my low point is gonna come later or sooner, but I knew it was coming. But this time was really bad, really bad. That I was ready to quit the race and just give off my number. Adrian, he didn't let me do it. He told me, just one more aid station. Let's go, just walk, continue. And well, we were chasing the cutoffs. It was tough, more than I thought, but we made it. I want to thank all the volunteers. It was a huge difference. They make you feel like you are in a family. At the finish line, all these people waiting for you, family from other runners, friends, organizers, my friends from Ecuador, and on my side, my nephew. It was an amazing moment for me. It was special just to witness my nephew running 60 miles for first time in road running shoes. It was amazing. I feel so thankful for having him running with me, for everything. It was an amazing experience. Looking forward to run more ultras. It's been a huge experience. Thank you, Ian Golden, for letting me do this video. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good night.
So congrats again, buddy. That was pretty awesome. And then I checked in with Dave Walker to see whether he had any suggestions on just great stories from the weekend. And one of them, he said to check in with Keith Querry. Keith is just a testament to when things don't really go your way. And he had, I think, several things just not go his way in the context of Eastern States, to still hang in there, keep it together, and just to get it done. So Keith, who we've had on before, also for a clip on a prior FKT, take it away here and cue us into your Eastern States experience and a testament to just sticking with it.
Hey Trails Collective, my name is Keith and I'm here to talk about my experience at Eastern States 100 this past weekend. It was my first 100-miler, so I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. They say that a lot can go wrong in 100 miles, and damn if that isn't true. At the beginning of the race, I went to cinch my vest down and it broke. My friend John was there and happened to have a knife. We cut a hole in the one side of the vest and ran the cord through the hole, so I was able to keep it tight and hold on to the cord. When I made it to Brown's Run aid station, we had a zip tie there that I was able to use to hold my vest together. Leaving Brown's, I was with a couple of friends and was able to knock off a few miles in the trail, and everything was back on track, going smooth. Heading into Richie's aid station, they were playing Rage Against the Machine, and everybody was helpful and got me in and out of there. I was pumped up and ready to go. Moments later, Gabe runs up to me and says somebody's found my wallet and my emergency blanket along the trail. I noticed my pack was open and also my headlamp was missing. I turned around and ran 2 miles back up the course trying to find my headlamp. I couldn't find it, but I couldn't waste any more time, so I headed back to Richie's for the second time. While there, I was able to get a headlamp, and a runner left me a spare handheld, so I continued down to Heiner. At Heiner, I was able to get another headlamp in case the batteries wouldn't last, and I was ready and set for the night. Running through the night went pretty smooth. I made it to Slate Run, and I was back on track. I ended up spending a little bit of extra time there to collect myself, do a shoe change, eat some good food, and then headed back out on the course. My friend Aaron Watkins and I ended up running into Long Branch around mile 75 together, and after getting my fluids topped off, a couple of calories, and some conversation with a few good friends, I was back on the trail. Right after the aid station, I'd missed a left-hand turn and was heading down this long descent and ran into other runners that started coming back up. So I turned around and now I'm in a panic. I don't think I have enough left in the tank or enough time to get back up this climb and on the course. My panic turns into frustration and anger. I wanted that belt buckle and I was about to not get it by a wrong turn at mile 80. I couldn't let that happen. I wasn't going to give up. I dug deeper than I ever thought I could and pushed forward. I was running scared. I made it to Blackwell and picked up Michael Lowe as my pacer and never missed a beat, kept on moving. The last 20 miles were rough. I gave everything I possibly had and left it all out there. My feet were shot, my ankle was swollen, my mind was gone, but I wasn't giving up. I wasn't going to quit. The final descent was the worst. It was nice though, there was a few rattlesnakes out there to cheer me on as I was climbing down. Now with this descent behind me, it was time to cross the road and head down the grass for Victory Lane. My wife and kids were there to cheer me on as I was coming across the finish line, and Livy even waited around long enough to give me my belt buckle. This weekend, I learned a lot can go wrong in 100 miles, and I also learned that I can dig deeper than I ever thought I could before. I want to thank all the organizers for such an amazing event, everybody at the aid stations that were willing to jump in and do anything and everything for everybody, no matter what. Completely above and beyond. The trail running way, it's amazing. I also want to thank anybody else that had a hand in making the trails as great as they were. This weekend is a weekend that I will absolutely never forget, so thank you all for that.
So congrats, Keith. That's pretty phenomenal. And then for the Eastern State segment, I am going to close out with my friend, the wicked tough, having a spectacular year, Nicole Yokum.
This is Nicole Yokum reporting on Eastern States this past weekend in beautiful Central PA. I wanted to start by giving a shout out to the race director Jade, the race organizers, all the volunteers who came out and helped with the aid stations and everything. It was an incredible experience, and I know it was largely because of your hard work. So all the participants, we all really appreciate it. This was my first 100-mile race, so that was cool and a little scary to try something a lot longer than anything I'd done. I did my first 100K in June, the World's End 100K, and so this is substantially longer than that. I'll say my main concern heading into the race, honestly, was running through the night at all the hours in the dark on the trail, because I really honestly don't do nighttime trail training. I do pretty much all my training alone, and it just seems like not the best idea, except for the times that I've gotten stuck too close to dark or in the dark because I got lost. But that's pretty much me running in night normally. It's when I'm not supposed to be out there at that hour. So I did do a little bit of practice, like I hiked around Scutney at night, pretty late at night with my husband a couple weeks ago, and a couple other times I went out for nighttime training runs, although one of the times I ran a single mile and then I saw eyes reflecting back at me from my headlamp in the woods, and I was pretty sure it was a bear because of the location and the smells I had gotten about a quarter mile before that. So I just turned around and went home. So I had some concerns about running into wildlife and just psychologically all those hours running in the dark after already so many hours of running. It really helped to have pacers, so that was my great idea and choice. Is I had a couple of buddies who paced me basically from 63 until 103, the end, and that made a humongous difference. We did hear coyotes, and at one point one of my pacers heard snakes. Towards the end, it turns out there was totally a pile of rattlesnakes there, which we didn't actually see at that moment, and I think I was too focused on bringing it in at that time to even really notice that he said he was hearing snakes. But it really helped to have people with me. Shout out to my pacers, Lisa Trapello and Craig Peterson. You guys made it for me. I don't know what it would have been like without you two, because that would have been a lot of hours navigating the dark alone. And also the terrain is really rugged. Pretty late in the race, you have like huge they were wet, mossy rocks. We had thunderstorms all week in PA, so it was pretty hardcore, finding the trail, clambering over the rocks safely. And then the very end of the race is also very technical, so I was really grateful to have buddies with me for that part. Thank you guys again, honestly. The other thing I'll say, I wasn't too worried about the distance, 100 miles. I mean, strangely, when I did my first 100K in June, I discovered that it wasn't as hard as I thought, so I had expected it to be painful maybe about halfway through, and I think because I saved my legs by not pounding the downhills as fast as I normally would, it just never really got that painful. So I went into this thinking, hey, maybe 100 miles won't be, or 103.9 miles won't actually be that painful, or maybe it'll just be fine. And I was kind of right and kind of not. I mean, the main things that started hurting is about halfway through, or certainly by 63.9, which is when I got my first pacer. My feet hurt. It felt like I had a big blister basically in between the ball of my foot and my big toe on each foot, and turns out I was right, and I did have a blister on both of my feet in that spot. The other thing was the chafing was pretty bad, and I could feel it for a long time. And I just decided with both of those things, probably an unconventional choice, but I decided not to do anything. I didn't change my shoes or socks. I didn't put on more ointment. I didn't want to take the time to do it, and also I kind of just figured that my feet were going to hurt no matter what, even if I changed my shoes, and so changing them might be frustrating. And I kind of didn't want to look with the chafing, to be honest, and that, it's hard to say whether that was the right call. I mean, I think for me it was, because it was really bad chafing. So when I finished the race and I took a shower, I was like in shock because it looked like first-degree burns on my chest. And my husband said the next day looks like I actually did get mauled by a bear, which did not happen in this race, my big fear. So that's actually been the most painful part of recovery for me, is the chafing. I think the lesson there is next time put on a ton of ointment beforehand if I'm not going to want to stop to do it. Strangely, I've been able to walk and do stairs and stuff the last few days. I don't understand that. But definitely, in terms of preparing for next time, want to think about the ointment and maybe having shoes that have a more rugged bottom, because maybe the ones I was wearing were too light or something like that. The other thing I'll say, it's for my crew, is a super long time, so 100 miles. My crew is my husband Matt and my son Milo, who's 8, and it was 24 hours of crewing, and we don't even have a big van or anything like that. So that was a challenge to figure out how they were going to sleep, take naps, etc. And they did a really fabulous job, so I want to thank them also. But it's a real thing for your family. It's like a family endeavor trying to do all this. And keep going all those hours. They're only seeing me once every 4 hours or something like that. So that's tough. That's pretty different from a lot of the races I've done in the past. The other big surprise for me, I'll say, doing 100 miles was, for a while I was on track, I think, to run about 22 hours, and I was pretty stoked about that, but I lost track of that goal maybe about 2/3 of the way through or something, just in terms of how long it was taking. So I knew that I had a chance at the record, but coming into the last aid station, it was going to be really close, because I had like an hour to do 4.6 miles, and I was worried that I was going to miss it by a couple minutes. So I basically just went for it, and I basically kind of sprinted the end of the race as I would for a 25K, which felt entirely crazy, because the end of that race, the last few miles, are like steep, rocky downhill with lots of twists and turns. But somehow I was able to do it. Like, my body held up, and it was almost like, since I hadn't sprinted all day, I still had it in me. And it was amazing to have my pacer, Craig, just like fly that part with me after 20 slow miles. So yeah, that was probably the raddest thing ever. Like, just such a thrill and such a cool surprise that I was able to bring it in like that at the end. So don't doubt what your body can do, you know what I'm saying? Like, 104 miles sounds like a really long ways, and it is, but you can surprise yourself. Sometimes you just gotta go into it, and you might have pain in certain places, but you can do things that you didn't know you could do. So just go for it. That's what I'm gonna say. Again, thanks to everyone. Thanks to my pacers, Lee and Craig, my crew, my family, everyone at the race for being so supportive. It was just a great experience that I'll never forget. And I love you, Central PA, and I'll miss you. Hope to see you again sometime soon. Peace out, Trails Collective.
So thanks so much again for that clip, Nicole, for weighing on the vantage point, not just of hammering and how it goes out there in the context of such a long event, but from the perspective of it being your first 100. You've had a really phenomenal year. It's been great to get to know you a little bit better, to share some miles with you, and you are a phenomenal individual. So great job. And then one that was on my radar last year, we couldn't get the clip in time, or last week rather, was from an individual coming out of Leadville. Well, I should take that back. From an event coming out of Leadville. In this case, it was David Becker with the Leadville Burro Pack Racing. The Burro Racing just, I don't know, looks really cool. I think well, in any case, I've got some clips in here from David and Burro Racing. Tough to find it in our necessarily neck of the woods with Northeast, but it definitely came out of Leadville, and I thought it'd be fun to hear in on it. So, David, take it away.
Hey there, Trail Collective. This is David Becker, and I'm coming to you from my patio in Riegelsville, Pennsylvania. I recently, last week, ran the Leadville Pack Burro race. This race kind of came onto my radar after reading the book Running with Sherman by Chris McDougall. Actually, I didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook, which I would highly suggest because it's his true story and very touching. And the way he reads the book is just phenomenal. Anyway, then my interest in the race was really piqued and solidified by talking to my friend Bart, who ran this race some 25 years ago. Bart, had a donkey named Taco Bell that he rented, and he said that donkey took off like a 4-minute mile. So he had me pretty intimidated from the start about this whole race before I even got there. The format of the race is there's a long course and a short course. The short course is 12 or 13 miles. The long course is about 21 miles. The short course has about 2,000 to 2,500 feet of elevation gain. The long course, I'm not really sure, maybe double that, I don't know. But I had to run the short course because I was a newbie. It starts out in the historic town, the mining town of Leadville. Story goes that there were 2 miners that found gold in like the same area and raced back to the town to stake their claim. Then later on in the 1940s, late 1940s, somebody decided to take the story and turn it into a race. So you have a burro, which is a donkey that has a pack saddle on it. I had to saddle it up myself. Everybody saddles their own donkeys. You have to brush it out first, put the pad on, put the saddle on. And in the pack saddle, there is a pick, a shovel, and a gold pan, which is kind of like the required items that you have to have in your pack saddle. The race starts off, like I said, right in the town of Leadville. This year it started on 4th Street. It normally starts on, I think, Garrison or whatever, Harrison, I think it's called. But it started on 4th Street, quickly goes up the mountain, turns into a dirt road, gravel road. Then that turns into Jeep trails and single track trails, which are just beautiful. Some of the trails get pretty rocky, and the donkeys are pretty sure-footed, but they're more into self-preservation, so they tend to slow down a little bit in the really rocky areas. But you see all kinds of people there. It's a really colorful community. All different kinds of donkeys, different sizes, different flavors, donkeys running backwards, donkeys pulling people into ditches, donkeys, kicking, I was super fortunate. My donkey, Bo, he just wanted to pretty much go at a pretty steady pace. You know, it wasn't super fast. And sometimes it was a little fast. But for the most part, he kept moving forward. We kind of hooked up with this other guy, Rick, and his donkey named Dolly. And Dolly ended up being a pen mate or a roommate of Bo's. So he knew her, he felt comfortable with her. He wanted to stay with the donkey, Dolly, the whole time, which is cool by me because we were just able to keep moving the whole time and finish the race. You kind of wind up the mountain on single track. You get around this mountain called Ball Mountain. Beautiful Colorado scenery. I mean, how could you ask for any more? You're in Colorado, in the mountains. It goes up to like 12,000 some feet. So the elevation is somewhat high. It's not a 14er, but you get up there a bit. And it was a little smoky because of all the wildfires and stuff like that. So I did have a little distressed breathing once in a while, but nothing terrible. I'm pretty good with altitude, even though I'm a flatlander from Pennsylvania. But I just can't say enough about this race and just about that whole community. So much fun, great volunteers, great people that run the race, super colorful people, and tough people. There's a lot of tough people, and there's some really, really, really good athletes. The guy who won, I can't remember his name, but he had this little donkey named, I think, Buttercup, and I think he won the Triple Crown actually. But yeah, they just really moved, and it was super impressive. But my donkey was sure and steady. Had a great time. You wind around the mountain, you come back down into Leadville, almost to where you started. Just so much fun. If you get a chance, read Running with Sherman. It's a great book. Chris McDougall wrote Born to Run too. I can't say enough about it. I mean, if you get a chance to do one of these races, just do it or put it on your bucket list. Not that expensive to rent a donkey. Couple little side notes. When I was up on the mountain, we saw this old, timber frame kind of building. It was obviously like an old gold mining operation or something. And we heard this thing creaking, and I was with this guy Rick, and we heard this thing creaking. We just happened to be running at the top of the mountain right near a photographer, and this thing's creaking and creaking. Next thing you know, it just collapses. It comes down, and smoke comes, dust comes billowing up out of this thing. And we were like, what the? We couldn't even believe it. How we just happened to be there at the right time. That was really cool. And the other thing that I found out after the race, which it kind of warms your heart, is my donkey Bo was actually rescued from a kill pen in Mexico. He was about to be slaughtered, and some great organization, I don't know if it was Laughing Valley Ranch or another organization that they got the donkey from, these great people saved this animal and gave this animal, a new life in Colorado, an awesome town of Idaho Springs, where it's beautiful, and gave this guy a job. He runs that's his job. I mean, how cool is that, to run in the mountains of Colorado? I just, to me, that I didn't know this before the race. I was told actually by Amber Wan from Laughing Valley Ranch that this donkey was saved, and it's so cool. It makes the race that much more special. I had a blast. I would do it again. I can't wait to put more donkey races in my bucket, So, but anyway, I got this really cool buckle. Not sure if it's focusing or not, but it is definitely one of my most prized buckles now. I think it's really cool, and it means a lot to me. And I really thank my wife for signing me up for this race. We were supposed to be doing the Ute 100 in Utah. Our race got canceled because of a wildfire. It was canceled last year because of COVID. We just can't seem to win with this race, so I think we're doing it next year. But anyway, we just had an awesome time, and I have the Arkansas Traveler 100 coming up in October. I'm pretty stoked for that. That's going to be my Western qualifier because I kind of DNF'd a race back last fall when I was injured. I don't know if this race, prepared me at all for that race, but it was certainly fun, and I love telling people about it, and thanks a lot for letting me tell you about it.
So congrats, man. That's really cool. And maybe someday I will get out there for the adventure of Burro racing. Another one that was on my radar in just the national scene from this past weekend was the Bigfoot 200. There may have been a couple Northeasterners that ran it. One that I'd communicated with a bit. I was hoping to get a clip from him this week, but he's still a little bit too fatigued and scrambly to put it together for a live clip here. But he's been able to hash it back out in some of the writings, at least on his Facebook page, as well as I got to see some of the photos today. So for the Bigfoot 200, I checked in with friend Tristan Baxendale. Tristan, a really, truly amazing effort out there, and it was cool to at least read of your experiences. So nice work. And on 200 front on deck, also I think coming up is the Tahoe 200. All right, so I will close out with some of the events coming up this weekend. We've got Mountain Lake's Backyard Ultra Last Person Standing event put on by the crew at Steep Endurance in North Salem, New York. It's a North American qualifying race for Big Dog's Backyard Ultra. We've got the Jenkins Mountain Scramble Trail 10K and half running at Paul Smith College in the Adirondacks. We've got Cooper's Rock 50K and half marathon running in Brewston Mills, West Virginia. We've got the Cook Forest 25K Trail Challenge in Cookesburg, PA. Sunny Hill Trace 5K and 10K in Bolivar, New York. And here in New York, we also have the Twisted Branch 100K. Also a really done, wonderful event. A good number of friends in the mix. So that's what's coming up and on deck. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for those of you who support the channel for just tuning in, who take the time to like the channel, like the videos, share it in your own networks, share it on your feeds. Take the moment, just have some confidence and support us by sharing it in other listservs. And thank you. For those who not already on your radar, I could still use more hands for Virgil Crest Ultra, September 11th and 12th. It goes up to 100 mile over 36 hours, so it's very volunteer intensive, and I for sure could use more hands to pull it off. So if you think you might be able to pull an 8-station shift September 11th and or 12th, or an overnight shift, I can absolutely use you. Please direct message me or reach out to anybody in your community who might be up for it. So, all right. So until next week, thanks to all of you who are supporting the channel. And from the river, I will check you next week. See ya!